Cruise news time. And wow, talk about getting your day in court and it taking forever. There's been a legal battle going on between the state of Florida and Norwegian Cruise Line, and now there's finally been a decision made. Who won, who lost? Skagway, Alaska, they lost a little bit this year because of rock slides, losing out on potentially 100,000 cruisers making their way to Skagway. They got to fix the rock slide thing. They got a plan. They got two plans. Neither one of them are cheap. There's a popular cruise port that got shut down because of Hurricane Fiona. While she's coming back to life, the cruise port's opening back up. And cruise stocks, have you been following them? Boy, they've been going down, down, down. But yesterday they got some good news that may strengthen them. Hopefully, I don't know. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Lido, Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for October the 13th, 2022. It is a Thursday. We've got some interesting cruise news. First, let's talk about Grand Turk, very popular cruise port in the Caribbean that was shut down because of damage to the dock there as Hurricane Fiona made her way through the Caribbean and then eventually up the east coast of the United States. Hurricane Fiona ripped through there last month, September the 22nd. The dock in Grand Turk has been closed down since, but cruise ships actually returned 2 days ago on the 11th. We have a couple Carnival cruise ships making a stop. The Carnival Sunrise went there, and also the Carnival Freedom, and then a big ship is going back there today, the Carnival Mardi Gras. There's also upcoming stops by the Carnival Legend, the Carnival Spirit, and the Carnival Magic. And then we have a few non-Carnival ships making a stop at the island, the Celebrity Infinity, the new Stadendam from Holland America, and then additional visits by Norwegian Cruise Line and Princess later this year. So a very popular cruise port, a lot of action going on there, a fan favorite with the beach there and the Margaritaville. And so solid, a good story there that Grand Turk is open back up after the hurricane. Cruise news story number 2 takes us to Skagway, Alaska. But before we get into that news story, I want to take a quick second to thank the sponsor of today's show, Babbel. Babbel, one of the best language learning apps in the world, created by language learning experts with over 10 million subscriptions sold. Babbel, it's the language app that gets you speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. And why would cruisers want Babbel? Well, that one seems fairly obvious. I've been eyeballing a cruise in Europe next year that will take me to Europe for over a month, and I will be encountering a lot of different languages. A great app that has learning brought to you in a lot of different ways. Are you an auditory learner? Are you a visual learner? Are you an active learner? Are you a passive learner? All kinds of ways to learn a language. Let me just show you a simple lesson in learning some French phrases.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ça va?
Ça va? Ça va is how's it going? It opens up the world for you when you can go to a place where somebody speaks another language and you can be a part of the conversation. Look, there's a lot of cool things about Babbel. Let me highlight 2. First, they have a 20-day money-back guarantee if you're not satisfied. And then number 2, there's always a great deal for the locafam. If you like to try Babbel, you can do it for 60% off your subscription by clicking the link in the description box below, or you can scan the QR code right here. Either way, go down to that first comment and tell me which language you're trying to learn. Thank you, Babbel, for sponsoring today's show. Okay, let's go to Skagway, Alaska. Skagway, Alaska, impacted by rock slides. Rock slides occurring above the main dock there in Skagway, causing the main dock to be unusable. We had all kinds of scenarios where cruise lines just skip Skagway because of it. There are other docks in Skagway, and cruise ships were able to use other docks, but the disembarkation of passengers at all of those other docks require a tender. So instead of just being able to walk off into Skagway, you have to take a tender. The assembly there in Skagway has contracted with a company to come up with a couple plans for how to deal with the rock slides. The 2 plans that they came up with, one is $40 million and another one is $3 million. Of course, the $40 million one is more extensive, more broad. The $3 million, something they can do fairly quickly, a stopgap measure, and the town can go ahead and sign off on the $3 million. For the $40 million, they're going to need some money, either some federal money, or they're going to need to use the money that's collected by Alaska for cruise passengers. They're going to try to initiate a $65 million bond to take care of some of this work. But at the heart of the matter, they've got 2 problems. They've got loose rock at the top of the slope, and it tends to come down and there's a bump there. There's a bump where this loose rock will hit, and it'll shoot out over the side and down onto the dock. There are nets at the bottom of the dock designed to catch some of these rocks, but because they shoot off like a ramp, sometimes they miss the net. And then this year, when they didn't miss the net, it was such a big slide that it took the net out. So they've got a plan in place to build a bigger net at the bottom, and they also have a plan in place to build a net midway up the slope. And then they also plan to put a mesh net on top of the slope to slow down the rocks as they start to slide off the top of the slope. They're also going to go through an activity where they loosen up the loose rock at the top of the slope and try to get that off of the top of the slope. So it's wild that all of this effort and all of this money is going into managing rocks on top of a hill. Sometimes life is so simple and so complicated at the same time, because rocks on top of the hill with the potential to injure people has caused 100,000 people not to go to Skagway this year, and it jeopardizes the ability for cruise ships to dock in Skagway next year. It does sound like they have a plan in place. It will be interesting to see how this goes forward. There's several months before the Alaska season really kicks off again, and so hopefully things work out for Skagway. But wow, that's some crazy, crazy stuff. Cruise news story number 3. Let's talk about cruise stocks. I guess the simplistic rendering of that story is the cruise stocks have been going down, 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 down. We have seen Carnival drop into the low $6 range, lower than it's been for possibly 30 years, and the other two major cruise stocks, Royal and Norwegian, also trending down. However, something significant happened that made the cruise stocks trend up yesterday, and that is the analyst at UBS, financial analyst at UBS, has said that Norwegian is a buy. It is so interesting how the stock market works that the words of these analysts can actually impact the way investors do their thing. I mean, it makes sense, right? That's the whole point. They're out there. It's almost like a sports book handicapper. Somebody's out there telling you why they're making sports picks, and if they've got a certain good reputation, you might follow their picks. That happens the same way with financial analysts. Certain financial analysts have a good reputation, and so UBS is one of those organizations that are known for their financial prowess, and so them saying that Norwegian is good, it helped all of the cruise stocks. It'll be interesting to see if it continues to help it today. The analysts at UBS, when looking at the Norwegian Cruise Line business, they see that their bookings are up. They see that the prices that they're charging for their cruises continue to trend upward, and they continue to see a potential of a 20% growth there at Norwegian, and they know that the demand for travel is coming back. Norwegian, again, they're in an interesting spot. They've made the decision not really to discount their cruises, and they're approaching their debt in a way where it seems like they'll be able to pay it off. As I mentioned the other day, they've got about $12 billion in debt, but based on their current cash flow model, they're actually able to extend that debt over 12 years, pay off about $1 billion a year in debt, and be okay and continue to grow. So it's going to be interesting how this impacts the other cruise stocks. Will Royal continue to trend up? Will Carnival continue to trend up? Because their financials are not all identical. One cruise company is not identical to the other. So we'll have to see if just the bullish approach to Norwegian, the buy Norwegian, if it really will transcend to the other cruise stocks. And let me say this, it seems like whenever we talk cruise stocks, people are like, oh, I'm going to buy some cruise stocks now. Just remember, this is a gamble. Like I've got a lot of cruise stocks. I'm down. Like I'm waiting. I got to wait for this to come back for me to make my money back. And so it's like any other gamble. If you don't have the money to risk and you need that money to be, stay the same, don't risk your money. So I just hope everybody knows that. But it is an important story that we talk about what's going on trending up and down in the stocks. And this movement from a categorization of neutral to buy for Norwegian, definitely important for people that are paying attention to the market. Do you have cruise stocks? How do you feel about that? Are you holding for the long game? Leave a comment below. Now we must talk about the big legal decision between Norwegian Cruise Line and the state of Florida. Who won that bad boy? But before we get there, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything that's going on in cruising, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. And this is a great time to hit the like button. Hit the like button. And unfortunately, if you do not hit the like button, well, I'll be forced to punish you, and your punishment will be this. Did you watch the show yesterday where we talked about sitting with strangers, dining with strangers, or dining alone? Well, whichever side of that debate you fell on, well, that's going to be your punishment. If you like to dine alone, you're going to have to sit with strangers, and if you like to sit with strangers, you're going to have to eat alone. You can avoid that, still maintain your choice of dining by hitting the like button. Thank you in advance. Okay, do we remember how it went down in Funky Town? State of Florida passed a law banning all companies from requiring a vaccine to use their services. Norwegian Cruise Line sued the state of Florida, saying that the ban on vaccines infringed on Norwegian Cruise Line's freedom of speech, allowing them to ask people whether they were vaccinated or not. Interestingly, this lawsuit started last year, and in the very first head-to-head between Norwegian and the state of Florida, a U.S. district judge sided with Norwegian, saying that Florida could not impose the ban on Norwegian Cruise Line. The state of Florida immediately appealed late last year, and well, it was just decided last Thursday, proving once again that the wheels of justice are swift. So the appellate court, the 11th Court of Appeals, just last Thursday overturned the decision of the judge, and now the ruling goes toward Florida. So who won? Florida won, and so now Norwegian cannot require proof of vaccine for people to sail on their cruise ship. They can still ask if you are vaccinated or not. That there's no violation of free speech there. However, there's no requirement for vaccine for Norwegian out of Florida anymore. So it seems like I don't know who gets the victory there, since the victory comes after it's not necessary anymore. Florida hasn't commented and Norwegian hasn't commented. It'll be interesting to see if it goes up on appeal again. What's not up for debate is the reality that it's always better to eat in the buffet than it is in the main dining room, or at least that was the position I took in this video. These are the reasons you should eat at the buffet. Check this video out next. Tell me what you think. This is Tony for Lido, Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye.